Hello, my name is Drake, and this week I saw the worst movie I've ever seen. Yesterday I saw The Exorcism, starring Russell Crowe, Ryan Simpkins, Chloe Bailey, Adam Goldberg, and David Hyde Pierce. Now that's not the only actors that are in the movie, but they're the only ones who have characters that are memorable. The sorry excuse for a horror movie was directed by Joshua John Miller. It's a meta movie within a movie about possessions, exclusively the original Exorcist fiasco, which is presumed to be actually canon in this universe, that it actually happened. There's no real backstory that ever gets established during this movie. Near the end, there's actual flashbacks that we just have to figure out what they're related to because they're not really pertinent enough to figure anything out. This movie did, however, have a great chance to deal with many issues such as grief, addiction, abuse, sexuality, and backsliding. I don't know if backsliding is the right word, but it's what I'm going with. Lee, the daughter of the lead, Tony, who is portrayed by Ryan Simpkins, is suspended from her school because she justifiably protested an unfair termination of her guidance counselor. She got fired for marrying her girlfriend. Now, I get that. That's fair. Not to fire her, that's fair to protest. I actually think that this does build a lot for Lee's character, though, because it shows that that's something that matters to her. That's the only real backstory that is ever established in this entire movie. Another notable thing about this movie is the weird survival rates. At first, we see Lee drop her phone down 4 stories of stairs while recording audio. It doesn't break the phone. When the audio is played back, her scream isn't recorded, and it also doesn't sound like a phone hitting the ground from 4 stories up. That scene does lead to the actual only scare in this entire movie, which is just bright lights and loud boom, which is in classic new horror fashion. Neither me nor my dad, who I saw this with, were able to make out an image from the bright flash. We think it was just a flash. Later in the movie, Tony, who's portrayed by Russell Crowe, goes through periodic episodes of obvious possessions, which doesn't even get addressed as a possibility until the final fourth of the movie. They just accuse him of the fact that he started drinking again and probably does drugs. I also don't know when I'll ever get a chance to say this again, but Russell Crowe, in this movie at least, looks like a mix of Dean Norris, James McAvoy, and Mark Hamill. Another notable event of the proof of possession is when Tony does the most impressive back bend I've seen in my life. I recall there being sounds of bones breaking maybe from it, or it's just the best back crack he's ever done. The producer, as well as Lee herself, his own daughter, just kind of sit there staring at him. They seem concerned, but not really too worried about it, as well as everybody else that was there. Then the lights cut out, and then he's mysteriously seen sitting at a table, like a normal dinner table, and then proceeds to smash his face into that table multiple times over for there to be no blood nor obvious bruising or breaking or any issues. I don't know when exactly to mention this, but when it's established that there's a different day going on, it pops the screen black, puts red text on, and says shoot day 11 or whatever, then cuts back to Tony doing physically and mentally worse than the last time. After Lee witnesses her own father breaking her back and smashing his face in, she is admittedly minorly shaken up, but nothing too really concerned. She makes sure that Tony takes his medicine because he's an alcoholic drug addict who is backsliding to them, so he needs to make sure he takes his medicine. Only for the worst scene in this entire movie, and maybe of my life, is Russell Crowe sucking on their fingers. After all that good shit, Blake, portrayed by Chloe Bailey, Halle Bailey's sister, and Lee start making out in a room whilst her dad, that is somehow alive and just sucked on her fingers, is just chilling in the room over. A possessed Tony makes a really loud sound, and Lee and Blake go to check on him. He starts yelling at them to keep making out for him to watch, and then he starts shouting the D word, and I'm not talking about dick or douche here, at Lee. Tony then tries to kiss her, Lee herself, and then when she doesn't let him, he just licks blood on her face. Kind of odd. And then he proceeds to throw her across the room. All she really does is tell him to leave because he's probably on drugs again. It would be nice to note, he then fucking swan dives backwards out of the 4th story window to not get any harm or damage from it. The actual best part of the movie here is when the Father Connor shows up. He's the progressive priest. He's a very old guy who looks like Alton Brown, portrayed by David Hyde Pierce. He tells Lee and Blake that God will protect them because God made them that way and loves them how they are, which is a very good message that Catholics and more Christians need to pick up. He also says, though, that God will save Tony. Now and only right here is the first time it's ever really mentioned that possession is a possibility and not that he's just a spiraling drug addict. There's a bunch of super fast flashbacks to what ends up being a young Tony drinking blood out of a chalice. They never say why, but it is insinuated that that's why the demon is in him. They split up or something for some reason, and Lee stumbles upon the cold room, which is previously made a big deal. Chekhov's shotgun or something like that. If it's shown, it's going to be important. She finds that Blake and Father Connor are immobilized in a demon-y way, and they kind of look like this, and their hands are facing up for whatever reason. She tries to exorcise Tony using his own script from the movie because Tony was playing the priest. Blake and Father snap out of their trance somehow, and they all start exorcising him together with the power of friendship. And then finally, for no reason at all, after they get thrown around and stuff, Father Connor walks up and takes the demon out of Tony and puts it in himself. Then the power of friendship takes control again, and they all start exorcising the demon together, eventually leaving the demon and Father Connor to die. The movie abruptly ends with Tony in a confession booth saying shit that doesn't matter, and then it cuts to Lee driving a car with longer hair to show that time has passed. Currently, the movie has a 1.6 star review, which seems pretty fair. Basically, the movie's cementing Russell Crowe as a has-been actor. I only ever really knew him from Gladiator, and I haven't even seen that movie. Moral of the story, the plot of the movie is don't watch it, because it sucks. I actually meant to buy tickets to see A Quiet Place Day 1, but I clicked on the wrong one, and I'm stupid. I've never seen the original Exorcist, the split pea soup movie, but from what I understand, it's a cult classic, and this will not be on that bulletin board of cult classic movies.